Can you kill the lights?
Welcome to another edition of Kill the Lights podcast. This is your host, Joey D, and my co-host, Carl DeBesso. We talk about everything on the fringes, horror, dark underground culture, what have you. Basically stuff that goes bump in the night, but instead of fearing it, we love it. And we talk about it. And for today's episode, we're going to be talking about the new film, Dr. Sleep, which is apparently the second chapter to...
the sequel to The Shining.
The sequel to The Shining. Originally, Jack Nicholson. Take me back in history, Carl. Mm-hmm. What was The Shining all about? It starred Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, it's about the breakdown of Jack Nicholson, Johnny in the movie. When he brings his family to the Overlook Hotel on a gig to take care of the hotel during the winter. And he's supposed to actually write his groundbreaking novel during his stay there. And instead...
So the main character was Johnny. He was supposed to write a novel. Stayed. He was fortunately or unfortunately tasked to be in charge of the hotel, the Bates.
No, the Overlook Hotel.
The Overlook Hotel. Sorry, and basically it's haunted and it drives him nuts.
The ghosts get to him and drives him nuts. Tries to kill his family.
And of course, doesn't end well for poor Johnny.
No, he freezes to death outside. In the novel, the hotel actually is destroyed, but surprise, in Dr. Sleep, it's still
up there, up and running. Anyway, The Shining, considered one of the most iconic and of course one of the essential like a horror thriller movies of that
must
era.
Watch.
A lot of memorable scenes from blood spilling out from the elevators to
drench the corridor.
And two freaky twins at a hallway and whatnot. A lot of iconic stuff. Whether or not you've watched the film or you've heard about it or have no clue, you've probably seen a few iconic scenes from that film.
It's that popular and it's that iconic. That popular. Very influential.
Very, very surprised now because we were at a showing when we first saw that trailer.
Yes.
Red Rum.
Murder.
Yeah.
In the mirror.
And it was very surprising that they did a sequel to it. Was this sequel also a Stephen King one?
Yeah, the Stephen King actually, to not much fanfare, released Dr. Sleep, the book, like around 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
So it was still him.
Yeah. It was for him, I think. What would happen to Dan Torrance? What had happened to Dan Torrance since actually I think the movie The Shining was more about Dan shining rather than his father's breakdown.
Yeah.
Because that was in the book. And now we have in Dr. Sleep the answer to that question. What happens when a very sensitive kid, a psychic kid, grows up with the trauma of his alcoholic dad who has been trying to kill him, chasing him in the snow, and his powers are not really helping him much, except it's kind of both a gift and a curse since he can read minds. He has some psychokinesis.
You know, them psychics.
Yeah, so would it be fair to say, Joey, that Dr. Sleep, for those who haven't seen it, it is about psychic vampires. The enemy, the villains are psychic vampires.
Yeah. Basically, it's a pretty straightforward movie. The thing is, look, the funny thing is, what was the last movie I did? I didn't fall asleep at Crawl.
Yes,
and
you
that
did
was
not.
Such a simple movie. You'd think that it'd be horrible.
Yeah.
But I didn't sleep a wink during that. Here, I just fell asleep during the first part. Way too many fucking characters.
Too many fucking characters, man. Just let's detail those arcs. So there's one is Dan Torrance, the son of...
Danny Torrance, the son of Johnny, who's now grown up, played by Ewan McGregor.
Trying to wrestle with his demons.
His ability and his demons.
Yeah, he's also an alcoholic now. Surprise.
An alcoholic. So second important character. They showed the relationship of Danny Torrance with his mother, Wendy Torrance. how she was trying to take care of him, tried to introduce some normalcy after the events of the first Shining. So basically that was the first part. Danny, as he was growing up, he'd still be haunted by ghosts.
Yeah.
A lot of creepy scenes. To be fair, some of the scenes were pretty awesome.
They were pretty. I mean, when it knocks it out of the park, it really does.
Yeah,
it's a home run.
Like that girl in the tub.
Yeah,
those
from
scenes.
the Overlook Hotel. Right,
they were great. I was awake. But then introducing like other characters, the stories like Rose the Hat, which is which was played by Rebecca Ferguson. Still looks good, huh?
She still looks amazing.
And her group, which I just learned right now, they're called the True Knots.
Yeah, they are basically a bunch of immortals who feed off psychic steam, quote unquote.
Yeah, from their victims, mostly children,
because they're easier to victimize.
Exactly. So the characters, Zan McLaren plays Crow Daddy, basically the right hand man to Rose the Hat.
Yes, same guy who played the Indian in Westworld. And then there's Carol Stroiken, who's the grandpa. Basically, he's the OG. He's the oldest
of the True Knots, and
you remember Joey?
There's a certain reverence to him.
Yeah, you remember Joey? One of the scenes was Rose said, "You are amazing because you saw the Romans rise and other empires fall." So like, oh, that's how old he is.
That's how old he was.
Wow.
So psychic vampires, yes, but more like vampires.
Vampires, actually.
Like again, immortal. And there were a bunch of other members of the tribe, the True Knots. And
we were talking a while back about one of the newer members, right?
They recruited the new member. They recruited who actually had her own backstory. Andy, the character was Snakebite Andy, played by Emily Lind.
Beautiful young girl.
Her thing was to scar sexual predators for life,
because she could push people with her in their thoughts and make them do some simple instructions.
Exactly. So again, all of this was dumped in the first part of the movie. All introducing these characters, switching between scenes. Honestly, I spent more time in my head thinking, who the fuck is this now?
Exactly. I thought we were going to watch a horror movie, right?
Exactly.
I was kind of prepared for what would happen because I had read the book. I didn't know they would follow the book because the book is so meandering. I thought this would never...
Impossible
to be made into a movie.
If you were to take your own liberties, that's one of the things you do. You'd compress everything.
The best moments.
Effectively. Exactly. And, there's so much want for more context to Danny's growing up years.
How did he become an alcoholic, right?
I felt way before that, they should have shown him as a kid going to school.
Yes.
As a kid going to college.
How did he deal with bullying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because
his powers.
Yeah, I don't think... look, it could have been he skipped school, but I don't think so. Because
I don't think so,
all of the scenes, like the hauntings and whatever in his home and in the hotel, they were during the evening.
Yes.
So it begs the question, what did he do during the daytime?
Yes.
And he does seem to be
a pretty well-educated man.
Educated man. Like he had money for booze, obviously. So where did he get? It's impossible. What's the source of money? So he probably had a job. It wasn't
established, right? In the book, I know he was working a lot of odd jobs, but until we got him to the point of that small town where he actually got a hospice job and a job on driving that small train, teeny town, it was never established how he could afford any booze.
Yeah. So a lot of questions. Of course, it's easy to assume the answers. I guess that's what the directors and the screen, the people behind it felt like. Okay, this is like an ordinary guy, whatever. But then you got to remember, this is the central character, and so many questions then on, but none of those questions were answered. I just felt like they kept introducing newer characters.
I was going to say that. Yeah, exactly. I agree. Like the third arc, especially, is about Abra Stone, the black girl who also has the Shining, but is like 100 times more powerful.
Yeah,
she's like the Dark Phoenix of this
she's
world.
like Super Saiyan Shining,
Super
right?
Saiyan, level. But did we need her? I know in the book that's the metaphor where Dan Torrance can see that there's a future because this little girl is dealing with it well. Maybe I can be like this and I can guide her. But in the movie,
it's sort of like it's all about Abra,
right?
Yeah.
And we didn't see her before this.
Exactly. So you can understand why, like early on, I'll say it. And I remember this is one of the first things we all said after the movie. I was like, you know what? I wouldn't have a problem with this fucking movie if it wasn't called the fucking sequel to the Shining.
Exactly. It could have been its own thing, man.
It could have just been titled Danny. Or it could have been just called Psychic Vampires Go
versus
to Hell. Yeah,
Dan
whatever.
Torrance, something like that.
Or Small Black Kid, Small Black Psychic Kid. Or because the thing is, it was, after they introduced the characters, it was interesting enough.
It was, right? The dynamics.
Like, number one, the use of guns. Okay, you can kill.
You can kill, but
it's
we
just so
guns.
funny. Like, now that I think of it, if the OG guy was old enough to see the rise of Rome and the fall of other empires.
Grandpa Flick, right?
Grandpa Flick. If he was old enough, how is it that he survived all of that, but he can't survive a gunshot wound?
Exactly.
Or worse, hunger.
And
because
you
he
remember
just died from hunger.
The premise was they would often store their steam in canisters, so they would have something for emergencies, right? Even when they fed him.
Does that mean Rose the Hat didn't want to share her stash?
Yeah. But that wasn't established at all, right?
I get that, but what I just don't get is why they were crying over... I mean, why they were so upset over his passing.
Yeah, because they could have saved him.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what the hell, guys? Are you just really vampires? Were you just waiting for him so you could all eat his steam?
And the funny thing is, when you look at their stash, under the assumption that them collecting steam from humans was going on for decades as Danny was growing up. They seem to have like a very slow rate and low stash.
Storage.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I mean, well, that scene with Rose the Hat, like going Super Saiyan and just consuming all of her stash, couldn't have been more than 2 or 3 canisters in there. So I was like, wow, they don't seem that productive at all.
Yeah, they're not very well. They're not very good hunters.
Exactly. So she flies through crowds, but she only has 3 canisters of whatever. I mean, again, the small stupid mistake. You could call us you could call me a wise ass or whatever, but I'm basing this stuff as like simple logic. Like if you run out of something, you better have like at least 500 spares.
Yeah, make that
whatever.
your damn priority, man.
Diba? Like, look, I smoke like a fucking fiend. I need to have at least 5 packs of cigarettes. One
stored
in my
away.
bag, one at the house, one in the condo. I mean,
stands to reason, right?
Yeah, but if you only have 3 canisters of souls, to
let's say for the sake of argument, it's hard to come by. But there's a lot of you guys, and you have resources.
If it was hard to come by, they wouldn't have banded together because everyone else is competition. You try to take each other, which is why I'm thinking maybe that's why Rose the Hat didn't share it with.
But she still wanted to be Queen Bee.
I guess. So she needed workers. Anyway,
let's talk about the good stuff, man.
Well, the good stuff, number 1, guns.
Yeah.
I love
Psychic
it.
vampires with guns. Awesome, right?
Rifles, snipers. And did you notice how well Danny and his best friend, the character of his best friend is played by Cliff Curtis. From Fear the Walking Dead and from...
apparently they're ride or die buddies.
Yeah.
We didn't really get that.
But yeah, apparently they're like super sharpshooters, which again, I don't understand. They did mention they were hunters and whatever, but the way these guys were firing at the True Knots, they were like sniper, American
high
sniper
accuracy.
level. Yeah. So again, the firefights were good. Again, a lot of jump scares.
I like the part where they were torturing a young kid. And they were just all over that kid trying to eat his steam. That was horrifying.
That was something else.
Did you like the stuff in the Overlook, man? When they got there finally.
I I don't know if I enjoyed it or remember that row across from us. They were just clapping way too hard, and
That was kind
whatever.
of weird. It kind of seemed like they were just waiting.
I think they
for
were
the
just
overlook.
trying too hard. Plus, they were obviously way younger than we were, so
Yeah.
they might have watched The Shining, the
Maybe,
first
but-
one, but I don't think they'd have as much reverence or respect for it. Just because, I mean,
Maybe.
it's not their, it's not,
Not
like
their
for their
age group,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, it's not for their age group. So after 5 really loud applauses and cheers from that group, I decided I did not like the Overlook Hotel.
Exactly.
I was like,
It
you know
seemed
what?
to
If
me
you're
like
clapping, I don't like
You
it.
don't like it. Like, there's too much nostalgia going on here. It's its own movie.
I think it was ruined by the people who. Well, again, number one is, I know that it is the sequel to The Shining, and I know that Danny has connection to it.
Mhm.
But if you really ask me, I think it was just to justify calling the movie The Shining.
Sequel,
Because
the sequel to The Shining.
Because
yes.
a lot of the fighting didn't happen there. I
Nope.
mean, a lot of like the really big high action sequences happened during that.
The hunting,
that-
the kidnap of the kid.
Yeah, that's where it all happened.
Here's the thing, Joey. There was no hotel in the book, so they didn't even need to do that.
Yeah,
It was an empty lot where the True Knot had bought out everybody else. So it was now the Overlook Mobile Hotel
yeah,
Lodge.
it was like
so you could park your
so it was
RVs.
RVs and whatever. It was a trailer park.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. There
Yeah.
you go.
So
Did it add
did I
anything to
feel
the story?
Did
right?
I feel giddy? No.
No.
I guess going there because he wanted to unleash his ghost to help fight.
He could have done that anywhere,
And
right?
Again, anywhere. Like they were in boxes in his
head.
mind. Yeah. So you could do that. And you could do that while you're on the toilet or whatever. But yeah, a lot of stuff didn't make sense for me. Number one, well, I guess overall, again, I repeat, if it wasn't called the sequel to The Shining, I
It could
wouldn't
have
be
been
too
way
hard.
better.
I
Yeah.
won't be as hard on it as I am now.
Mhm.
Number two, that young black psychic girl being like the future or whatever. Yeah, that's too PC for me. I don't
Yeah.
know. Way too PC for
I get
me.
you.
I mean, wow. So why a black girl? Why not a Chinese girl? Why not? And I was
Or
like, you know what?
Why
Just-
even include her, man?
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
Dan's story.
Good. And then the character of Andy,
Snakebite Andy
Snakebite Andy
had a lot of potential.
good backstory, looks good. I enjoyed watching her, and then one of the first to get killed.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
So
Why
I was like,
establish that?
what a waste.
There was like 15 minutes of her origin story that could have been used for way
And
something
then
else.
my thing is, if they were so in love with origin stories, how come none of the True Knots were given origin stories?
Yes, because they all had interesting backstories.
Exactly. If you're a
I
True
can tell
Knot,
you.
you're fucked up, and
You've lived a long time, man.
You eat souls. So what did you do during that time? That
Yeah.
just that one question is probably worth like fucking 3 sequels to this, or The Shining Part 7, The Shining
need to be.
Asia Pacific, or whatever. But again, the first 1/3 of the movie, it's a fucking sleeper.
Everything is set up right.
Boring, yeah, well, super
It's
boring.
weird because Mike Flanagan, the director, did very well in The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah,
And I don't know what happened here. He just really fanboyed out of it. And
I guess.
I think he sought approval from Stephen King way too much.
Yeah. It was like he was trying to please not just Stephen King, but the audiences because of that promise that it's the sequel.
Yes. There you
And
go.
there are so many Easter eggs that they're almost not Easter eggs anymore.
Hindi na.
It's not surprising anymore. I
Like,
mean,
okay, let's put that wallpaper there because it's like the
that's
it.
what people from
Yeah.
the first Shining remember from
and the
watching
hotel room 237.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we watched it too, and I didn't even watch the first chapter
one,
of it,
Yeah.
the remake.
Mm.
But when I watched it too, the Easter eggs, they were all great.
Yes.
The certain habits of the whatevers or certain or
The kids, right?
I didn't mind it at all because they were Easter eggs. I mean, if you noticed it, great. If you didn't, it's okay.
It's okay.
So to the truest sense of the word, it's just for the strict fans.
It's kind of like,
Here
look
it's
at
just
this nostalgia piece here.
peppered all over the place. Like, look, we put it. Look, I mean, again,
aren't you overjoyed? And then the people in front were clapping. Yes, we're overjoyed.
And I'm like, dude, don't fucking clap. I mean,
what?
It's The Shining too.
Yeah, you should have just watched The Shining, man.
Yeah, I mean. But again, I'm not trying to rain down on anybody's parade. But what the fuck? I mean, if I was gonna again, the applause, the cheering, really? I mean,
well, that's more of our complaint with the people in our
it's more of the viewers, but
rather than the movie.
But then again, it shows the triumph of well, I don't know what else to call it.
I think it's nostalgia over actual craft,
or the triumph of the deception of it's the sequel to The Shining, but has fucking nothing to do with The Shining.
It's not actually that. And it's so sad because the story of Dan, as is, like what you see in the movie, it's obviously so much more interesting than what goes on
with the
other people.
Yeah.
Like just him finding his space and finally being made use of meaningfully his powers so he can help. His time as the hospice was awesome, man. He was helping old people pass over.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
That would have been a movie in itself, right?
Man.
Yeah,
that's why,
like a forced Grim Reaper, diba? Like,
and he never wanted to do it. But, well, if it helps, it gives me peace as well. And then I wanted more screen time from the cat who knows when people are going to die.
Exactly. The cat who apparently there's a cat that'll sit on your lap or at the foot of your bed that knows that you're about to die.
It's kind of like the hospice mascot. Right?
Exactly.
Except it's the Grim Reaper.
The Grim Reaper. The Grim Cat Reaper.
Cat Reaper. I would have wanted that because we call that the Psychopomp. Somebody who eases the way through to the land of the dead. Would have been a great spiritual journey.
But no.
So what's your score, bro?
I score... I'm gonna give it a 5 out of a 10. 5 that it wasn't a complete waste. I don't think it's a complete waste of money if you pay for your ticket. Number one, look, Ewan McGregor he's always been a good actor. So I'm really not upset with any of the performance. I think everyone was good. Casting was really good.
I think Rose, played by Rebecca Ferguson, hit it out of the park, right? She's so sexy.
And she had that swag about her that, the good thing about the True Knots is they really assimilated well into society. They were just basically white trash.
Yeah, those people you see in RVs in America, because, you grew up there, right, man?
And it wasn't like, we're supernatural. Look at me, make this potion or whatever. No, I think it made them a lot scarier because, basically these are people on the outskirts and whatnot. I thought that Astra, the young black psychic girl,
Abra, sorry.
Abra. I thought, you know what? It's okay, but again, if it was a different movie, I would have liked it. And again, it's not horrible, but I'm like, if you're really excited and you got your money for the ticket and whatever, just make sure you have popcorn with you. Make sure you have extra money. Like me, in case you don't like it, just watch
go to another movie.
Yeah, just watch Next Door, the comedy Next Door or whatever. But it's not a failing score only because it's not a bad movie. I just think it was labeled and marketed and wrong movie title.
It is wrongly marketed.
Yeah,
right.
And I'm pretty sure they did that on purpose.
That's what I hate because it's a good story by itself.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. So, more people will watch movies about vampires than about psychic vampires. So, I mean,
but I get you.
Yeah, I mean, they had to do something because I wouldn't have watched it if it was called something else, as good as it would be that it wasn't called The Shining. The thing is, it's kind of hard to pull people in I have a new movie. What's it about? It's about psychic vampires. People will do it 180
you say it's
immediately.
The sequel to Kubrick film.
When you say it's a sequel to The Shining, then you have all these, again, those people in the front clapping for every Easter egg and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm directly on the fence with this. 5 out of 10. How about you?
This is like a complex score, bro, because if you had not read or seen Shining,
Yeah.
it's a 5 because it doesn't give you much context, right? It would have been its own. And then you're scratching your head at the end, like, well, why the fuck is this hotel so important? Shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
But for nostalgia's sake, if you had read the book, if you've seen The Shining, oh my God, the hairs on my neck stood up when, that Jess Ire thing played. And then that iconic shot of the levitate, like the weirdly diagonal horizon came in. Okay.
You got giddy.
And then that just
everything
dissipated.
Else from there was just downhill.
That just dissipated afterward because what the hell are they doing? So it's a 7 if you're a fan.
If you're a fan of The Shining, yeah.
Yeah. It's just that it ruins the whole story actually because, like I said, the movie's called Doctor Sleep. It should have been, and I am absolutely firm in this, it should have been Dan's story of redemption, not only from alcoholism, not only from the exorcism of the Overlook Hotel and the sins of his father, trying to kill him with an axe, instead of the young girl's coming of age or her fight with the true knot. Psychic vampires, they could have fought with Dan Torrance. I wouldn't have minded. So it's a 5 and a 7.
And a 7. That's the thing with me, like with novels and whatever. I mean, almost never are they going to do it 100% faithful. Not even Lord of the Rings.
You shouldn't actually.
So my thing is, don't drag the novel into it. That's true. That's just my thing. I mean, obviously, again, whether or not no one knows, whether or not it was done on purpose or whatever for more ticket sales or whatnot, I think this should be a reminder of why people should stop doing that shit. Don't say... It's like the
Don't try to be faithful to the novel, man.
Like, remember the Amityville book? Amityville Horror. They made so many movies out of it. None of it was like faithful to, except for the first one. But then they still changed a lot of details.
You need to, right?
To make
That's
it scary.
the art of adaptation.
So yeah, maybe adaptation should have stricter ground rules in the future or whatever.
Yeah, don't consult the damn author, man.
Yeah, I mean, just come up with a movie, come up with your own title for that movie, and we'll watch it.
Exactly, because King hated The Shining, man. King hated Kubrick's version.
Yeah,
like who the fuck cares? It's awesome.
Yeah. So a lot of I'm assuming a lot of people are more fans of the first Shining, meaning the movie version. I don't think a lot of people.
The first Shining, man.
I don't think a lot of people read the novel.
Yeah, I was talking with the producer like before this, and he said there was nobody like Kubrick before Kubrick, and I don't think anybody is doing Kubrick.
No, I mean
after.
That's why he's a genius. I mean, he polarizes people, and that's what art is. So yeah,
I think this is still showing by now, man.
Yeah, it's still showing by the time this comes out. So if you want to check it out, do so
at your own peril.
Yeah, or you know what, make it a group thing, make it fun.
Yeah, I think
I wouldn't watch this alone. If I was a big fan of The Shining, and I thought about watching it alone so I could really concentrate on it, you're going to be disappointed. Just bring the entire gang, have fun, maybe go out for a few drinks after.
People will ask, is it scary?
Again, you have your moments, but whatever scares are included, it's not anything we haven't seen before.
I think they can safely go to bed afterwards, right?
Yeah. Like right after I really just had to watch another movie. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I got home from that showing, I was like, you know what, I'm going to put on a comedy just to fucking clean the...
I felt the same thing because like that wasn't really satisfying.
No. It's not that you were inspired to watch more. And, I chose something totally different. I think it was Wayne's World or something. I just really wanted to get it out of my system. Mm-hmm. Not because I was afraid or anything, but, because it's just that kind of movie. Forgettable. Very forgettable movie. But you know what? I do want to say thank you and give props to the people behind Warner Films.
Warner Brothers Philippines.
And Jay, who always supplies us with tickets and whatnot. So shout out to those guys. Thank you for letting us get the first sneak peek among fans of The Shining. But you know what? Barely passing. That's the grade I'm
Sadly. Try again, Mike Flanagan.
Try again. Or you know what? Don't try and
Leave it be.
Yeah, let someone else do it. Anyway, that's been another episode of Kill the Lights. We'd like to remind everybody we are on Facebook, Kill the Lights PH, and on we're going to be working on our Instagram account very soon. But for the meantime, Kill the Lights PH. If there are movies or topics you want us to tackle, just message us. We won't necessarily listen to your suggestions, but you know what? Sometimes it's just good to interact online. So
we'll probably see it. We probably won't read it.
So this has been Joey D and my co-host Carl De
Thanks,
Mesa.
guys.
Till next time, this has been Kill the Lights Podcast. Bye-bye.
This has been the Kill the Lights Podcast. It's produced and recorded at Big Baby Studios. Follow us on Facebook and follow us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.